Hey, Ger, how are you? You well?
Yeah, so the Cheltenham Countdown last weekend, very important in terms of what we think we know, what we thought we knew but were wrong about, and some other horses as well. The Dublin Racing Festival. I want to start by talking about Honeysuckle. Sitting there watching Honeysuckle and watching Rachel Blackmore hit the front very early on, you're like, oh, geez, this is a bit early. And then just absolutely crushing the field. It felt like this is one of those kind of moments where you're watching absolute greatness decimate quality. Now, I don't know enough about all of the other horses that were in the race, but it felt a little bit like Mo Farah running everybody into the ground. What a miracle that was. And various other, Usain Bolt thrashing the field. It's like, wow, this is something we should take note of and remember.
Absolutely. And from a sort of time analysis point of view as well, the race was actually phenomenal. At the race's website, hire a guy called Simon Rowlands, who does really detailed time analysis of races, and what you saw was backed up by the clock, basically. The way she took it up so far out, and actually the fraction she set from their home were actually phenomenal. Look, Honeysuckle's an unbelievable mare. It's kind of difficult. You could probably still categorise her slightly in the sort of unappreciated context, just because maybe last year she was unfancied when she beat Benny Didier in the Mare's Hurdle, and people were kind of trying to make excuses for Benny Didier because she got to do a brilliant run up the inside. But I mean, at the weekend, she's now gone and she's favourite for the Champion Hurdle on the back of that. You know, she won fair and square. She beat a quality field. You know, even your friend Sharjah, I could see he was in trouble a long way out. He just was never travelling with the same level of fluency that he did over Christmas. Yes, the going is slightly slower, but that injection of pace he talked about quite early on. First of all, because she pushed the accelerator so early, she kind of caught the rest of the field off guard. So you think, oh, well, maybe they have time to recover. But the fact that she was actually able to maintain that pace on Honeysuckle pretty much the whole way to the line as the sectional times backed up shows you that it was an incredible performance. And now she's a deserved favourite for the Champion Hurdle, and you'd very much hope that she does go down the Champion Hurdle route. Again, it is worth bearing in mind she's a mare, so she gets a £7 allowance with the likes of Abacadabra and San Juan and all those. Now, she will meet Epatante, last year's winner, who is also a mare on level weights, but there's every advantage. And obviously Epatante has been sort of uninspiring so far this season. So a deserved winner, unbeaten, kind of incredible. A lot of people sort of thought that isn't even her trip. Her trip is probably 2.5 miles, and maybe right-handed are ideal conditions. But yeah, that was a phenomenal performance.
Okay, so you do expect Honeysuckle to end up in the Champion Hurdle, and at this stage, at this remove, when we're talking the morning of that, you'll be like, yeah, I think Honeysuckle's going to beat Epatante.
I definitely think Honeysuckle's going to beat Epatante. I kind of don't. She's a big, powerful mare now. Like, Epatante is still much more kind of a traditional filly, if you know what I mean. She's kind of small and slight and fast and light. But Epatante or Honeysuckle rather, is much more of a powerhouse. And even there's pictures of her when she was sold as a 3-year-old, and she looked enormous then. So yeah, and I think even in the interview with Henry de Bromhead, he spoke about her and her personality and how she's really grown up, and she's an absolute nightmare to handle around the place, and she walks around the place like she owns it, and she'd take the head off you if you looked at her sideways in the stable. So she has that kind of real fighter attitude as well, which is a real positive in a racehorse. Yeah,
couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of people as well. All the trainer and jockey around Honeysuckle as well. So it looks like we're watching something special. Tune in now to the Honeysuckle story. Get on board the bandwagon in advance of Cheltenham is my advice on that one. Let's talk about Kenboy. What was the crack there?
Kenboy put in a brilliant performance in the Paddy Power Gold Cup, as it's now known, and normally a horse wins that race, and if you're in the press, the bookies reps will come back in, they'll be handing you slips. Oh, we've cut him for the Gold Cup, blah blah blah. And Willie Mullins afterwards goes, well, he doesn't like Cheltenham, which stacks up because he's finished fourth, fifth, unseated, and 7th in his 4 runs at Cheltenham. So he's going to sell them to the Stayers Hurdle, which seems a strange decision from like a dual Grade 1 winner over fences over 3 miles at Leopardstown. So that's what Willie Mullins says he's going to do. But really, it would seem that Kenboy loves Leopardstown, and just that 3 miles there. The trip at Cheltenham is an extra 2 furlongs, and that makes a massive difference. And probably the race will have left a slight mark in him. And of course, Willie Mullins has Al Boum Photo to try and win the Gold Cup with anyway. But yeah, Kenboy was excellent. One of the stories of the race might be slightly the disappointments. as was noted post-race. I mean, Minella never really looked comfortable and was beaten about 3 out. Delta work, similar story, although Gordon Elliott said the ground might have been a little bit quick for him. That kind of suggested they're starting to run out of excuses somewhat with Delta work. Frustrating for me, having mentioned he could sort of be one last week, but I mean, on that performance, and again, excuses are racking up slightly for Delta work. The other brilliant performance in that race was undoubtedly the storyteller, who continues to put in brilliant performances. He picked up second, so he's now won a Grade 1 at Down Royal, finished second over hurdles in a Grade 1 at Christmas, and now finished second in a Grade 1 over fences over 3 miles at Christmas. So he's been brilliant for the Gordon Elliott yard and uber consistent all year, unlike many of his stablemates. But I would say, by the way, on Mellon, who Paul Townend chose to ride, I think he has a brilliant chance at Punchestown over 3 miles. That just looks made for him. Although you'd imagine he's going to run in the Ryanair, but I'll be very excited about seeing him allowed to bowl along at Punchestown in their Gold Cup. Later
on in April. Native River, what's the crack with Native River after the weekend?
Oh, well, we had a rescheduled Cotswold Chase, which went at Sandown, and obviously Native River, slightly forgotten horse, Gold Cup winner from pre-Alberto era. He was a winner 3 years ago. He does seem to prefer soft going. Had seemed to lose his way slightly, but he bounced back into contention. He beat Bristol, Demai, fair and square, and Santini was third. So he's probably brought himself into the Gold Cup picture. You'd have to think that you would need very soft going for him to come into that picture. And look, at a double figure price, yes, you can say he's been there, done that. He should be in the picture, but it's definitely one where you'll have to know what the going is going to be like. And it'd want to be no good in the going description, soft and worse, really, you'd have to think, for him to figure in a Gold Cup, but he's done it before.
So it sounds a little bit, Tom, like the advice was, if you're on already on something on the basis of what you thought was going to happen at the Dublin Racing Festival, fair play, but wait now to get involved in any of these races until the week of the race, because there's not much there's not much benefit in being on the side of a horse right now if you've no idea what the going is actually going to be like that week.
Yeah, well, especially a horse like Native River, you just think he's far more effective on a softer surface. Like when we spoke about the novice chases a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about Shishkin before Energumene had gone and dotted up in the Irish Arkle. And at that stage, Shishkin was sort of an even money 10 to 11 shot. Energumene was, 6, 7, 8 to 1 in places. And it's now, you can get 7 to 2 about Shishkin. You can get big old prices about Shishkin, and Energumene is into 2 to 1 and is into 2 to 1 and 5 to 2. So they're almost nearly in joint favourites in places. So it's like I say, a couple of weeks ago, these markets kind of made a mug of us. We were looking at, well, how on earth would you get Shishkin beaten? And now Energumene has come out and done that in the Irish Arkle, put up a similar kind of time rating, time form to what Shakin Poursois did over course and distance on the same day, and he's absolutely blown that division wide open. So yeah, it's these trials, and as has been said, the Dublin Racing Festival in a very short space of time has become, the festival in the run up to Cheltenham.
Yeah, obviously different this year because we didn't see any of the English horses really making the effort to come over, who are going to be renewing rivalries at Cheltenham subsequently. So it's hard for us to get exactly how well the Irish horses are doing versus the English horses, and it's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of mystery that week at Cheltenham.
Yeah, absolutely, and kind of Dan Skelton, he used to work for Paul Nicholls, now a trainer in his own right. He's come out and he's kicked the hornet's nest a little bit, suggesting that Irish trainers are not really putting it up Willie Mullins, and Willie Mullins just gets freebies at these Irish tracks and it's all easy going. So there's certainly become a little bit of an edge. Nicky Henderson said he was scared of what he saw at the weekend as well. So again, we're coming into this very much blind because there's been so little cross-channel activity from either side, where, you can only sort of think of maybe Duffelcoat as the kind of horse that might have a little bit of form to go either way. But again, he ran at Cheltenham back in, I think, September, October time. So none of the top-class horses from either side of the Irish Sea have clashed pretty much since before Christmas. So yeah, it makes for a fascinating clash of form lines, and it's all very much it's all very parochial, even more parochial than usual.
Well, sure, look, how bad. We didn't get into or to get time to get the novice hurdle picture. We'll do that properly in some detail next week because obviously the Dublin Racing Festival looms large, rightly so, over all of the pre-Cheltenham talk at the moment. Thom, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us. Cheers.
Thanks, Ger.
Thom Malone giving us thoughts every Thursday morning in the build-up to Cheltenham here on OTB AM.